This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Maray na banggi sa Indigo Boss, masantos yung salabi, idsi kayo amin. Maayong gabi sa Tibok Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, up to Sabah. Ako po si Eric Espina at ito po ang inyong nag-iisang republika. Sa gabing ito po, medyo madami ang ating pag-uusapan. May kinalaman po sa PNP, may kinalaman po sa Bangsamoro Basic Law, at kung may panahon pa, ay pag-uusapan din natin ang tungkol po sa nagbabadyang problema ng China. Karapat-dapat po na itong tatlo ang ating maging masasabi nating pinakalundo ng ating usapin dahil ang kakausapin natin ay maraming alam. Wika nga. Walang iba kung hindi si Secretary RAFAEL ALUNAN III, Secretary of Interior and Local Government.
Good evening, sir. Eric.
Yes. Kayo po siguro, I'm almost sure, you open the newspapers. I know maybe you read Senator Maceda's column with the litany of what's going on in the country, especially in terms of crimes committed.
Yeah.
I can almost picture you shaking your head. And you've been in the Department of Interior and Local Government. You can almost double sense, triple sense what's going on. What is happening to the Philippine National Police?
Well, when I was in charge of the PNP as chairman of the National Police Commission, I had 100,000 policemen then.
Yes.
And in one of my command conferences, I asked our senior leadership, ilan ba talaga ang kumakayod para sa PNP?
Mm-hmm.
How many are carrying the PNP on their shoulders?
Mm-hmm.
Ang sabi sa akin, 25% to 30%.
Okay.
Nagulat ako dahil sa napakababa.
Yes.
Ano? And then sabi ko, all right, ilan ang mediocre na kailangan pa i-retraining?
Aha.
Kulang pa sa kayod at
Aha.
serbisyo. Sir, mga 50%.
Okay.
So sabi ko, sa makatuwid, mga 25 to 30% ang dapat isibak.
Mm-hmm.
Sabi niya, yes, sir. So we were talking of 25 to 30,000. After 3 years, midway through the Ramos administration, we were able to remove about 3,000 plus so-called scalawags. No?
How did you do it?
Well, some through early retirement, because they were not really scalawags, but non-performers.
Okay.
But there were those who were scalawags, and so we filed administrative as well as criminal charges against them.
Uh-huh.
Now, today, the PNP has 149,000, if I'm not mistaken, personnel.
Uh-huh.
So, in terms of absolute numbers,
You can project this?
you can see that if assuming that the percentages have remained the same,
Yes.
25 to 30, 50, and then the balance are scalawags, you can see that the absolute number of people that have to be drummed out of the service have also increased.
Uh-huh.
And so it behooves any administration from the time that they start their term in office, from day one, to have a strategy to fortify the institution, to strengthen it, because oftentimes it's a lack of leadership and good management that brings about all of these problems.
In the first place, Mr. Secretary, how do these people get into the institution itself? I mean, do they fall into the cracks? I mean, this is a big number.
Doon pa lang sa recruitment, I found out during my time.
Uh-huh.
Doon nag-uumpisa ang mga kalokohan. People buy their way into the PNP, and there are very unscrupulous people who don't serve their positions as gatekeepers.
Okay.
That are part of the problem. They allow them in, and that's how the whole thing begins to crumble, no, at the bottom.
Aside from
People-
buying into the...
People buy into it because they know there's going to be a return on investment,
Okay.
and you can see already the trajectory. No, they're up to no good.
How about those that really apply? Are they applying also, I mean, and get through it properly, but with the wrong objectives in mind? Are there people like that also?
Well, I suppose those are the people that belong to the lower 25 to 30%.
Okay.
The upper crust, the 25 to 30 who are good, are there to serve. And you can tell from the quality of their work, no? And the number of hours that they put in to serve the public. Halata naman eh. And then there are those that, they're like flotsam. They just go with the tide, and whichever the wind blows. These are the mediocre people that need to be retooled. And that's the majority. You're talking about maybe 50%. Going by the numbers of during my time, when the senior command leadership more or less gave an idea of the profile of our policemen. So I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Now, the good news is that for the past 6 years, the Philippine National Police has been undertaking a transformation program.
Okay.
This is under the auspices of the Institute for Solidarity of Asia, under Jesse Stanislao, and I served there as a fellow.
Okay.
And the whole thrust of the program is to introduce the performance governance system that would enable these institutions, participating agencies and local government units to transform themselves through very clear vision and mission statements and very, very clear strategies and plans to reach their desired end state. In the case of the Philippine National Police, it's a 30-year transformation plan. And when they're asked how come it's so long in terms of duration, their sober answer is, it takes that long to change a culture. So they know their problem. It's really cultural. And they know that in order to transform that, they need all that time to be able to carry it out.
These evils that you cited are still there. This is what we can only presume, that people can still buy into the PNP to become a police.
I'm not sure now about the extent of the problem.
Okay.
Because,
Yes.
I'm offline, so
Yes,
to
yes,
speak.
yes.
But I can surmise that there's still that.
Okay.
Now, as to how big a problem it is, it's only the current leadership that can answer that.
Okay. When you undertook these programs and you realized the gravity of the enormity of the problem that you were facing, you reported this to then President Fidel Ramos.
Yes, as a matter of fact, early on in his administration, we launched Oplan Pagbabago.
Okay.
Because he told me, Rafi, help me clean up the Philippine National Police. You'll help me there, and I'll help you in the local government side.
Okay.
All right? So I said, okay, fair exchange, Mr. President.
Okay.
And, we started off by offering early retirement to 63 generals and colonels.
Okay.
And that started the process of cleanup during the next 3 years. That resulted in more than 3,000 being canned from the service.
When you mean cleanup, it's one way of how do you go?
House cleaning.
Promoting them outside or promoting them upstairs or what?
No, they were drummed out of the service.
Okay.
Administrative charges were filed against
Okay.
those that warranted it,
Yes.
and those that merited criminal charges. We had to bring them. We had
Okay.
to hold them to court.
How did you make the choices? Because they had standing warrants already or standing cases?
Well, based on investigations, internal
Okay,
investigations,
okay.
or based on charges that were filed in other venues. the National Police Commission took cognizance of that,
Okay.
and then met on a regular basis to decide on such cases. And the end result after 3 years was that we had more or less chopped off about 3,000 people. But at that point, midway through the Ramos administration, we came to realize that it's not enough to
Okay.
just can people,
Okay.
right? What was really needed was a total overhaul of the criminal justice system,
Okay.
starting with the police, moving on to prosecution, then the judiciary, and finally penology. Because anybody at that time with the right connections
Yes.
or with enough money
Could skirt the...
could escape from the system at any point. In fact, I came across instances where people were already jailed,
And-
but managed to buy them their freedom in the process from unscrupulous jail guards. No? So I said, it's not good enough that we reform the Philippine National Police, but we have to have a holistic program that would totally overhaul, give a serious makeover to the entire criminal justice system.
When you started house cleaning, did it send a message to the others to reform themselves?
Well, the message was definitely delivered.
Okay.
But for a program like that to stick, because we're dealing with culture, it needs to be sustained.
Okay.
In other words, if it's an official program of government, regardless of who sits there,
Okay.
sustainability is expected, no? Unfortunately, that's not in our culture. That's another facet of our governance that needs to be addressed, no? If we're going to change our culture, it has to be total.
Does it have anything to do with economic needs? Low salary scales, housing, school requirements?
Yes.
In short, we're lacking in benefits for the police force. That's why they engage into other moonlighting activities.
Well, let's put it this way. We have to make do with the kind of material
Okay.
that we have.
Okay.
Those who apply for a post in the Philippine National Police are products of our educational system. Right? Some are very good, others are not,
Okay.
etc. And even our gatekeeping
Yes.
sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. So then you get a mix.
Okay.
You have mixed results. No?
Okay.
Now, to your point, are they underpaid? Relatively speaking, compared to their counterparts in ASEAN, yes. And I believe in the saying that if you want good performance,
You pay.
you have to have good people.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you want to keep good people, you have to give them good pay,
Yes.
right? And benefits,
Yes.
to include medical, housing, education, not just for their wives,
For their children.
but also for their children. No? Because it's important, and I mentioned this to President Ramos, which is why we started our housing program for them. I'd like my policemen out there in the street not to worry about their families. I want them to know that they're being taken care of so that they can fully concentrate on their jobs.
Okay, we're going to pause for a few reminders, and we'd like to ask the good secretary, given the limit of our resources, sometimes we're given a choice between increasing the salaries or giving more in terms of benefits. So which one? The one on the left or the one on the right when we come back?